What is really going on when your borderline girlfriend splits on you? You're trying to kill me, she yells at you. And you say, but I was your favorite person 10 seconds ago. You are completely confused. You're deeply hurt. You're traumatized. And you thought this time, if it's happened before, you thought this time you figured out how to prevent it from happening. She even told you that you guys figured out how you were going to prevent it from happening, but she's doing it again. This time even worse than last time. So what the heck is going on? So splitting is a term having to do with the fact that if your girlfriend has borderline personality disorder, which is a very serious condition, it's actually a mental illness, it means that she's incapable of having two different feelings, two different thoughts at the same time. She can only have, especially when it comes to romantic relationships especially, she can only have either the most positive viewpoint possible or the worst viewpoint possible. She can't be in the middle where she can be slightly annoyed with you, but know that you're a great person. She can't have that. She either loves you or she hates you. If she didn't, she wouldn't have borderline personality disorder. And so if you're dating a woman and you've come to realize that she has this disorder, especially if it's untreated, undiagnosed, even if it's treated and diagnosed, it can still be very toxic. This may be incredibly frightening, painful, traumatic, confusing, and actually puts you in a state of PTSD. And it's when it comes to relationships, listen, we could put up with a lot. We could put up with the moodiness. We could put up with the depression. We could put up with all kinds of things. But, it's the one thing that nobody has the ability to deal with is when they split on you. You just can't. It's the most destructive thing that a romantic relationship can go through. So what is happening here? Well, this is part of the idealization, devaluation swing. She's constantly either idealizing you or devaluing you if you are her romantic partner. And so you think at some point you're going to figure out how to normalize this. You think that things will calm down. You think that you can get her to trust you. But it means you're operating from an inaccurate assumption. It's a rational assumption because, listen, borderlines aren't the only people who have extreme mood swings. Borderlines aren't the only people who can have paranoid, angry responses. Borderlines aren't the only people who can misinterpret signals and get angry for no reason or get hurt for no reason. That's not unique to borderlines. But when it happens with somebody who's not on the cluster B spectrum, what it means is that there's an opportunity, there's a chance you can actually maybe get to know them a little bit better. You can actually give them an experience of you so that they can learn to trust you. You can talk to them, and even if they are acting strangely and seeming not to be able to understand anything you're saying, you are perfectly capable to say, listen, you're reacting really strongly right now, and they can be talked down. This does not happen with a borderline. When a borderline splits, there's literally nothing you can say, and they are not seeing you at all. They are not having an accurate understanding or a context of what is happening. They may not even know why they're splitting. So if you think you're going to be able to have a rational discussion and be able to appeal to their rationality to be able to fix the problem, or hopefully fix this problem over time, then you are operating on an incorrect assumption about what is going on. So what is going on? Well, borderline personality disorder is an extremely volatile mental illness, and it comes from extreme trauma. The trauma that your borderline suffered was in infancy. Either she was not loved, She was abused, she was neglected, she was confused. Whatever dysfunctional things went on during childhood, she did not get the love that she needed. She could have been severely traumatized. I met a girl who had an adopted sister who had borderline personality disorder. Now, the girl that I knew was actually extremely healthy. She came from a really great house. So they adopted this little girl at, I think it was 6 or 7 months old. She was a little tiny baby. And they loved her. They treated her as good, if not better, than the other children. She still grew up to be a borderline. And they think what happened is that as an infant in a war-torn country, she had been abandoned, left out in the middle of the street for who knows how long. It obviously wasn't long enough for her to die, but it was long enough for her to be so traumatized she never got over it. So whatever happened to your borderline was extremely traumatic, and this is where she's operating from. So when she splits on you, she is, if we talk about that girl, she is her nervous system, because obviously her brain, her adult brain, doesn't remember any of that, but her nervous system does, and the most deep parts of her brain remember this. So when she's splitting on you, she is regressed back to whatever that initial wound is, that initial trauma. And if it went for a long period of time, then we're talking severe, complex PTSD deep in her mind and her nervous system when she was an infant. So trying to appeal to her, to rationalize to her brain, is a waste of time, because there's nothing rational going on with her. Her rational brain has not come up with a rational reason why she hates you. In fact, what happens is the brain, many studies have proved this, is that the brain actually will come up, it will make up justifications for your feelings. I'm going to give you an example of something completely, totally not connected to it, other than what the brain does. So somebody shared this with me, and it had to do with people whose corpus callosum had been separated, the two halves of the brain. So the two halves of the brain couldn't communicate to each other. So you could walk up to this person and whisper in their ear, "Walk across the room." And if you talked into the left side of the ear, then the right brain would get up and walk across the room, and then you would ask the person, "Why did you do that?" And they said, "Oh, I was thirsty." The brain will come up with a reason to justify what the nervous system is doing. So trying to appeal to her brain is a waste of time if her reaction is so deep within her nervous system that she doesn't even know what the hell's going on. All that she knows is that she honestly, truly, at the deepest essence of her, thinks you are trying to kill her. And that's what's going on in their brain. They believe that their survival is at risk and that you are an immediate threat to their survival. That's why they can get so violent. That's why one of the reasons why they're so psychopathic. When they attack you in the worst possible way. It's literally because they think any kind of interaction with you, emotional, verbal, physical, visual, will kill them. And it has nothing to do with you, and they don't even know why they're reacting that way. So what is going on? Borderline personality disorder, it has two symptoms that become most explosive during the romantic relationship, which is, number one, they are deathly afraid of being abandoned. You've experienced that already. They're so afraid that you're going to abandon them. They'll do anything seemingly to keep you from abandoning them, which is confusing because you think, well, she's never going to leave me. I mean, she's so afraid I'm going to leave her. She doesn't want me to leave her, so she's never going to leave me. That's a very rational thought. Unfortunately, the opposite happens because the other fear that she has simultaneously, they're linked. You can't separate them. She has a fear of abandonment linked with, in fact, it's two sides of the same coin. One side of the coin is fear of abandonment. The other side of the coin is fear of engulfment, fear of being completely consumed by you. This is why she's afraid you're going to kill her, because she doesn't have an identity. She never created one. So the only way to tolerate these kinds of feelings is if you have an identity. You have an anchor that you can go back to. Somebody's mean to you, you anchor in yourself and you respond from that. You respond from that by getting angry. You respond from that by getting hurt. You respond from that by getting, this person's not good for me. You respond because you know who you are. You say, this person is mad at me, but that's okay. I know who I am. It really hurts, but I know who I am and it's okay. That's because you have an identity. You got enough love from your parents that you know who you are. She doesn't have any clue who she is. She doesn't have an identity. So when this incredibly violent reaction happens within her, which is deep within her nervous system, forget about her unconscious mind, it's deep within her nervous system. When this goes on, there's no identity to anchor it. There's no identity to talk to the little infant inside of her. We all have the little infant inside of us. There's no identity to talk to the infant and go, it's okay, I know you're afraid, but I know this person. This person is good. This person is safe. It's okay to be afraid. You'll be all right. She doesn't have any of that. She only has the intense feeling that is coursing through her entire nervous system, and her fight or flight instincts, her animal instincts are in complete, total, just pedal to the metal. And whatever parts of her brain are available are the ones that are making up all the horrible things that you did. And so she will come up with a reason why you're trying to kill her. I mean, you've been there. I can remember the things that my borderline girlfriend said to me, in a split second, changed her mind, looked at me and said that one time she said, I know what you're doing. I know what you're trying to do to me. And I said, what am I trying to do to you? And she couldn't come up with an answer. But she was absolutely certain in the moment that I had this long-term plan to make her crazy, gaslight her, physically, make her unsafe, destroy her everything, destroy her career, destroy her finances, destroy her relationships. I mean, she really thought I was going to completely nuke her entire life. And you've been there. You know exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so here's the bad news. The bad news is that you and your borderline girlfriend do not know what splitting is connected to. She will tell you, and if you go on YouTube, I've done this, and go on to Borderline's YouTube channels, they will tell you, look, when we're splitting, it's because we're afraid and we're having an irrational fear, which is true. And they will say, you just need to understand that we're really afraid, and even though it's irrational, what we need from you is we need you to calm us down and you need to reassure us. And that sounds great, except it won't work. It won't work. And the other thing is that not only will it not work, it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse each time she splits on you, unless she's deep into therapy and been in therapy for years. Unless she's deep in therapy, every time she splits on you, it's going to get worse. It's not going to get better. It's a long-term con that is happening to her and you by her covert psychopath that lives deep in her unconscious. The covert psychopath is a protector. It believes it's protecting her from death, from annihilation. And it's not rational. And the psychopath is actually seeking to, this is how diabolical it is for her and for you. The inner psychopath within her, what he's doing, or she, is saying, we'll call him a he for the time being. The inner psychopath inside of her, what he's telling her is, look, I'm going to let you stay with this person long enough. We're going to get as much as we can from them. I'll let you think that you're getting love. And while that's happening, I'm going to get whatever I need from this person to keep me safe. And eventually what I'm going to do is I'm going to sabotage this relationship completely. And I will make it impossible for them to come back to you. I will be so cruel to this person that I will personally feel better because I will feel like God. I will intermittently, when you're splitting, I will come through and I will psychopathically abuse this person and I will feel omnipotent, and that will take away my absolute feeling of total lack of control. And I will give that feeling to you. And then I will recede into the background. I will let you have your infantile need for them, which they will perceive as love. And then when the intimacy gets so real that you might actually start to feel safe and connected, I will remind you the pain of what happened to you when you were a little infant. And I will tell you a bunch of lies about what this person is doing so that I can convince you to completely, totally destroy your connection to this person. And that is the long-term goal of the inner psychopath. And what will end up happening, as I talk about, is eventually there will come the final discard. So each split, don't believe me? Stay with your borderline. If she doesn't get treatment, you will see this. Each split, the time between splits will get shorter and shorter. Each split, the psychopathic devaluation will get worse and worse each time, until eventually there's nothing left in you for the psychopath to feed on. There's nothing left for the borderline to get any love from. And when that happens, the discard will be terminal, complete, and total, and she will hurt you in the deepest way. The other thing that you don't realize is that you think that these splits are arbitrary, but they're not. Even though they're unpredictable, and the borderline cannot predict. Literally, the second before she splits, she is so invested in loving you. She wants more than anything for this to work out because you're her savior and your love will save her. And she's going to save you with her love. She believes this right up until the moment that the psychopath jumps out and tells her the most insane lie about you, that she will not be able to block that out of her mind. And it's not random. It happens when you are the closest you've ever been. So again, watch what happens. The splits, when they happen, they occur closer together. Each time she splits, it's more ferocious than it was the time before. But each time she splits, you feel safer than you ever have, and you feel closer than you ever have. Because what's happening is, like any real relationship, you're starting to create real intimacy. And so in the beginning, there was a big gap between splits because there wasn't any real intimacy yet. But you've been with her for a while now. She does know that she can trust you. She does know that you love her, and the intimacy is real. So she can't project onto you mommy and daddy any longer. It doesn't work. She can't make you God any longer. You're now a real person who loves her, and she can't unsee that. And so it goes straight into the split. But for you, the experience is, I've gotten to her. I've finally figured it out. Finally, after 600 times, we found the one thing that, where are you going? Why are you slashing my tires? All right, that's it. I've repeated myself. You get the picture. The only healing from this, and the healing is ongoing. The pain is ongoing. When you have this, even though your borderline girlfriend has split with you, even if you left them, and or even if they have completely discarded you, your pain will not go away. It might get better, maybe with some therapy it might get better, but the truth is you're not going to be out of that intermittent reinforcement trauma bond. You're in between reward cycles, even though you think you're getting better. Trust me, you're not. You don't believe me? Don't follow my suggestions and talk to me in 5 years. I guarantee you, you'll still be in pain. You'll still be thinking about them. You'll still be wondering. You'll still be either full of regret and love, or you'll be rageful with anger and resentment. Doesn't matter. If you want a complete healing, I recommend you get my book, How I Survived My Borderline Girlfriend. and then you do exactly what I suggest. Everybody who follows my suggestions to the letter gets completely cured of the pain. And I wish that for you. All right, that's it. See you guys next time.